Good afternoon, I bid to all my fellow friends. Today, Group 5 will be presenting the Introduction to Internal Auditing. Before we start the presentation, I would like to introduce my team members. Group 5 consists of 6 members, that is, Gadong Benson, which is me, Marina binti Marzuki, Nur Afira binti Yusuf, Siti Nofiza binti Suhaili, Suraya binti Muhammad, and Yuva Sundra Henry Lemat. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, for the introduction, I will explain the history of evolution of internal auditing. The evolution can be best seen through the development of its definition. In this slide, we can see it reflects the chronology in the revision of the definition from the Statement of Responsibility of Internal Auditing by IIA from the 1940th century to 1999. The first definition of internal auditing was derived in 1947, where the internal auditing deals primarily with accounting, financial, and operating matters. Toward 1957, internal auditing became an independent appraisal activity within the organization for review of accounting, financial, and other operations. Subsequently, the definition of internal auditing was revised in 1971, where internal auditing was still an independent appraisal activity within an organization for review of operation, but now they were required to be more involved in system design. Next, the definition of internal auditing in 1990 is independent appraisal function to examine and evaluate the activity of organization from a financial aspect toward an operational aspect. The latest definition of internal auditing was established in 1999, where the internal auditing is an independent, objective assurance and consulting activity to add value and improve an organization operation by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of risk management, control, and corporate governance. Next slide, please. While in Malaysia, internal auditing function had been enforced since 2000 through the Malaysia Code of Corporate Governance and revamped listing requirement. Again, in 2007, the revised Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance re-emphasized the criteria of internal audit function that was observed through direct reporting to the audit committee. And now I will pass to the next presenter, Nur Afira.
Thank you, Diane. First of all, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. My name is Afira and I will be presenting the definition of internal audit roles and responsibilities of internal auditors, and later will be the overview of the relationship between internal auditor and board of directors. The responsibilities of internal auditor consist of too many broad, such as providing independent assurance, being a consultant, and to advise the performance of operation in the long run. This indicates the responsibility bear by the internal auditor are focusing wide broad prospect in terms of financial, operational, and governance. As an example, in terms of financial, the auditor need to check whether there are proper accounting record and data kept by the organization. The auditor need to give full attention in monitoring internal control. The monitoring will assist in determining the method to overcome the risk detected in any period. The indicator to detect risk is by doing regular checking of transaction, ensuring that the transactions are adequately reviewing with the compliance in both external and internal requirements. Next slide. Next is the role of internal auditor, which is highlighted in these three components, which are control, risk, and governance. Control element is where internal auditor need to enhance the capability to assess the control. Risk is to review the level of efficiency in terms of assessing the risk, while the governance is where the internal audit play a role in corporate governance. This is to comply with Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance (MCCG) in the year 2007. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter, Fiza. Fiza, unmute.
Sorry. Thank you, Nur Afira. My name is Siti Nafiza binti Suhaili, and I will present on the part of differences of internal auditor and external auditor. There are many differences between internal auditor and external auditor. One of the differences between internal auditor and external auditor is their reporting responsibility. Internal auditors will give reports to the board of director (BOD) or the audit committee. Meanwhile, for external auditor, they are responsible to prepare report to the shareholders of the company. The next differences between internal auditor and external auditor are their objective. Internal auditor main objective are to report depends on the management requirement. However, the objective of preparing report for external auditor is to present a true and fair view of the company's financial statement. Other than that, the next differences between internal auditor and external auditor are their roles and duties. For internal auditors, their roles and duties are determined by the management. Meanwhile, for external auditor, their roles and duties are determined by the Statute Companies Act 1965. Lastly, the next differences between internal auditor and external auditor is their status. Most of the time, the internal auditor is the employees of the company. However, external auditors usually an independent person from the company. That's all for this part. Next, I will pass the presentation to Nur Afira Yusuf again. Thank you.
Thank you again, Fiza. We will move on to the overview of the relationship of the internal auditor and board of directors. Under compliant audits, there are interaction between internal auditor and board of director, specifically under functional audit. For example, the internal auditor is required by the board of directors to assess the ability of the organization to plan before they invest into diversification of credit rating of portfolio in complying with the investment policy. Next, the relationship between internal auditor and board of director can be seen during the frequent communication with board members between meeting. Meeting can be conducting regular meeting and talking about relevant issues related to organizations. By conduct, the protocol for the internal auditor during meeting is by using the formal tone of communication to convey the relevant information and need to ensure all the relevant supporting document prepared in case the board of director ask for detailed reference or fact checking. Next is the internal auditor and board of director will communicate into sensitive matters. Sensitive issue here refer to the strategic. To convey this issue, the internal auditors need to act as a well-mannered and professionally experienced, having the most suitable selection of words, orally speaking in fluently so that the information conveyed to the stakeholder is understandable. The supporting document in this issue need to be fact-based and the document and finding need to be verified, held in timely and urgent manner as this is important and part of necessary issue that the stakeholder and board member should be take note with. That's all from me. Next presenter will be Suraya.
Thank you, Afira. Good afternoon, I bid to all my fellow friends. I am Suraya and I will be presenting on the overview of the relationships of the internal auditor and senior management. A professional internal audit activity will supplement uh, the f- sorry. The first point is the internal auditor as the support for senior management. A professional internal audit activity will supplement senior management's action by providing independent and objective assurance on the effectiveness of the organization's governance processes, how well it manages all kinds of risks, and whether internal control processes are operating. Furthermore, internal audit can play a key role in monitoring a company's risk profile and identifying areas in which to improve risk management processes. Internal auditors also support management by providing consulting services which contribute to the establishment of sound risk management processes by facilitating management's effort to improve the system of internal control and by giving advice on the implications of organizational changes to that system. Besides that, internal audit is sometimes asked to work with senior management in various other ad hoc activities of the organization, such as acquisitions, mergers, and systems development and implementation. Secondly, the next point is the senior management as support for internal auditor. The Chief Audit Executive CAE must have an administrative reporting relationship with senior management in order to achieve appropriate support to accomplish internal audits day-to-day activities. The CAE should consider the input of senior management during internal audit planning. Thus, senior management can support internal audit by giving them specific input or requests, which often reflects high-risk areas or important business opportunities. The CAE in turn should inform senior management of the internal audit planning and resource requirements, including significant interim changes both for review and approval. Furthermore, different levels of management, including senior management, should keep internal audit informed of plans of changes to the risk and internal control profile of the organization and of major changes to the organization's policies and procedures. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, Suraya. My name is Mariana, and I will explain the relationship of internal auditor with audit committee. The relationship with audit committee should take numerous actions to ensure a mutually productive relationship with internal auditor. An effective relationship here is the fundamental to the success of the internal audit function. In goal setting, audit committee should actively participate in discussing goals and evaluating the performance of the regional internal audit manager. Means this responsibility should not be delegated solely to the host board management. Challenge the RIAMs and the internal audit function by setting expectations, communicating those expectations clearly, and holding the function accountable for meeting them. In terms of communication, audit committee should hold regular private sessions with the internal audit to update about operational and financial performance. The audit committee also should be available when contacted by the RIAMs and always engage in a subsidiary and communicative reporting relationship. In terms of supporting, audit committee should see the internal audit have appropriate stature and respect and are visible supported by senior management throughout the organization. Lastly, they should be able to support the RIAM, providing guidance and assistance if needed. Next, I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you, Mariana. Next, I will present on the overview of the relationship of the internal auditor and the external auditor. From the overview, relationship between internal auditor and external auditor can be seen from the perspective of access to report and efficient exchange of information and effective control over the financial statement. This is because internal audit and external audit both complements each other. It is a good practice because the external auditors can get access to the reports of internal audit and knows important in facts and figures to draw good results. The external auditors usually communicate with internal auditing team to inform on any important matters that could affect the services. A good communication system between external auditors and internal auditors can result in efficient exchange of information and effective control over the financial statements. Through this, both the internal and external auditors can plan timing of their works and minimizing the interference with the management. That's all from me. Next, I will pass to the next presenter, Eva Sundra Henry.
Thank you, Fiza. Good afternoon to our webinar participants today. I'm Eva and will be presenting on the types of engagement, which is assurance engagement. Assurance engagement is an objective examination of evidence to provide an independent assessment on risk management, control or governance process for the organization. Vaidya expressed the view that assurance specializes in assessing and improving the quality of information in an organization. It aids in the decision-making process of an organization by focusing on customer feedback, financial information, or other areas where information is critical. Example of the type of engagement that will be considered as assurance engagement include financial, performance, compliance, system security, and due diligence audit. So let us move to the next slide, please. So to perform the assurance engagement mentioned before, it involves three separate parties, which are practitioner, a responsible party, and intended user. According to MIA, the practitioner are professional accountants who are neither in public practice nor in the public sector. Subsequently, the responsible party and the intended user may be from different entities or the same entity. Apart from the relationship between the two parties, the following are also elements of an assurance engagement. First is subject matters, which can be qualitative versus quantitative, objective versus subjective, and historical versus prospective. The second element is suitable criteria, which are relevance, completeness, reliability, neutrality, and understandability. The next element is sufficient appropriate evidence, and last but not least is a written report in the form appropriate to a reasonable assurance engagement or a limited assurance engagement. Next slide, please. For your information, the assurance engagement is followed by the audit. The internal audit department should follow through the assurance engagement process in order to assist the organization in achieving its objective by analyzing and recommending business improvement in key areas. The process of assurance engagement is from planning to gathering, and next is communicating. These processes mentioned are iterative and may not all occur in the same order, and the internal auditor may require assistance from specialists to examine and review business processes that are beyond their expertise. So that's all from me on assurance engagement. Moving on to the next slide about consulting, I will pass it on to Diane for more explanation on this type of engagement.
Thank you, Eva. Now we move on the topic of consulting type of audit. Okay, from the slide, I have listed several types of audit that have been used by internal auditors for consulting services. Okay, first is the performance audit, in which the internal auditors is responsible to evaluate the effective use of asset and efficiency of the activity or operating procedures. It evaluates the process, also the strength and weaknesses of the activity. Okay, the second is compliance audit. It evaluates compliance with specific standard and regulation. Some organization has financial support from the government in the form of grant, which require them to adhere to certain regulation. Third is the Sharia audit. Okay, it is used to evaluate the business entity that conduct audit, similar to an internal audit has the part of the internal control assessment in terms of Sharia requirement. Any business categorized as Sharia compliance is subject to a Sharia audit. Fourth is the public sector audit. It is the assessment of internal control on spending and activity of department or ministry. This is to determine the efficiency of public money allocated in the budget. The last one is the information system audit, which is used to determine the effectiveness of an information system control in the business. The mission is to see whether the information system safeguard business resources, retain the secrecy of data, and successfully support corporate objectives. That's all from me, and I will pass back to Eva again. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. So, what is the career path and prospect of an internal auditor? While many internal auditor begins in entry-level position immediately after completing their bachelor degrees, others obtain position after gaining professional experience working in external audit firms or in accounting. With several years of experience, junior internal auditors can advance to more senior position, handling a complex audit assignment from the planning stage through the final reporting stage. An entry-level internal auditor position generally requires at least a bachelor degree, preferably in a business discipline such as accounting, finance, management, public admin, or computer information system. Senior positions in the field typically require bachelor degrees and substantial professional experience in internal auditing. While a graduate degree is not usually required for advancement in the field, a MBA or another relevant subject can provide an important advantage in the job market, especially for leadership positions in internal audit departments. There are many professional certifications relevant to internal auditors that can improve their career prospect. The two most important certifications in the field are CIA designation, CPA designation. Other professional certification important to many positions in the field also include the CISA designation, the CFE designation and the CGAP designation. For the next part, I will pass it to Suraya so that she can explain more on CIA. Thank you, and that's all from me.
Thank you, Eva. Next, I will be presenting on the qualifications to be a certified internal auditor CIA. To become a certified internal auditor, they must meet all the required qualifications provided by the Institute of Internal Auditors, IIA. The qualifications are stated as follows, where the first requirement is the candidates must either hold master's degree or bachelor's degree or active internal audit practitioner designation holder or other education levels such as high school diploma, associate's degree or GCE A level or other or their equivalent. Sorry. Secondly, the ethics. The candidates agree to abide by the code of ethics established by the IIA. Next slide. Thirdly, they must pass all the three parts of the CIA exam consist of internal audit basics, internal audit practice, and internal audit knowledge elements. And the fourth one, the experience. The candidates must possess experience in working in internal auditing, and the amount of work experience are depending on the level of education achieved as per table below, where master's degree, they need 1 year experience. For bachelor's degree, they need at least 2 years experience. And for both active internal audit practitioner designation holder and other education level, they need 5 years experiences in internal auditing. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.
To conclude our presentation, internal audit provides objective assurance that internal control, corporate governance, and accounting processes are operating effectively. Internal auditor often aid a company in utilizing methods of fraud deterrence and enterprise risk management. Internal audits are often seen as an effective way to ensure compliance and execution with establishment policies in the company. It also helps discover best practice and new synergy within the company. Using the service of internal audit, company can improve their operational and financial performance. That's all for our presentation today. Any question?
Can you explain more on the three parties relationship under assurance management? So is your question on can I explain more on the two parties relationship and the insurance engagement? So if so, let me explain that as an example of the latter case, in a two-tier board structure, the supervisory board may seek assurance about information provided by the management board of that entity. The relationship between the responsible party and the intended users need to be viewed within the context of a specific engagement and may differ from more traditionally defined lines of responsibility. For example, an entity senior management, which is an intended user, may engage a practitioner to perform an assurance engagement on a particular aspect of the entity activities that is the immediate responsibility of a lower level of management, which is the responsible party, but for which senior management is ultimately responsible. So that will be my answer for your question.